Hey everybody, welcome. This is Mr. Steve back, and we're going to build out a bevel node in Blender that is adaptive, okay? Now the bevel that's coming in the later release of 4.1 or 4.2 is my prediction, is going to be pretty powerful, and it's going to do a little bit of extra, but with some tweaking we can get this to do a lot more. But I'll show you the start functionality for this, so you can create adaptive bevels that are very procedural, and you can, well, you can kind of do whatever you want and have it adapt. We'll build out a network of extrusions. We're going to build out some controls so you can change the bevel weight, the size, the shading, and all that cool stuff. So stick around to the end and we'll get right to it. All right, so this is going to be fun. It's also going to be tedious. And I've got a GeoNodes workspace open so we can put our node graph together here. And let's start off by dropping in a plane, okay? And if you do scale it up, just make sure to apply the scale. I'm going to throw in a cylinder as well. And let's just hit GZ1 and hit enter to move that up on the grid, just so it's nice, right? Now you could auto shade smooth this and do some other stuff, but I'm not really going to mess with it for this purpose. Create new. And we're going to need a lot of space, okay? So we don't really need to see what's going on over here so much. So I'm going to make a good little bit of room. And we'll probably exceed that as well. Okay, so we're going to build this out, structured, if you will. And we're going to have a section for the geo, okay? That is an E. We're going to have a section for the geo. We're also going to have a proximity setup, which is going to tie into a kind of like a fields. So this would be our fields data area, okay? This is going to tie in to those other nodes, which are going to in turn work with the proximity of extrusion. So we're going to have a little extrusion and a set. That's an E and an S, by the way, if you don't know. And then we're going to duplicate this a few times so we can build the bevel up. And so all of that will end up looking similar to this. So we'll have a geostring, we're going to have extrusion area, and we're going to have some fields data, which is reading the position data, and then that'll give us some level of control over the bevel. And just kind of erase all this stuff out of here. We don't need all that, and switch back. And if you don't know how to get a hold of this, this is just, I just call this the tweak panel. You hit T, you got a T panel here. You got a T panel over here for some modeling tools, both in edit mode and in object mode. All right. So for our first act of wonder here, we're going to go ahead and start dragging some stuff in. Now the geo node graph needs to be on the cylinder. So let's lock this and pin this workspace. Now we can drop in Shift A S Mesh B. If you type that in, you'll get Mesh Boolean. You go ahead and drop that in. Now let's grab the plane because that is going to be our target. We're going to want to switch this to Union, and then we can Alt-right mouse retag these back in, and that's going to want to go to self-intersection, so don't do that. Yikes, get out of there, Control-right mouse, get in there. All right, cool. I'll set this to relative. As you can see, this is going to end up, and if I didn't say it, I'm using Blender 3.6.1, the buggy version, which none of the other versions are working too good. Kind of see how this is working now. The skirt of this is going to be controlled. We'll put it in a circular pattern, and I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to do that. So this is a union, and I want to go mesh to curve, and obviously curve to mesh. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a profile for that skirt on a curved circle. So go ahead and drop in. I can't very well type that for some reason. I've got a little too much coffee going on. And we're going to be in the point domain. So automatically just switch this to points. There'll be some adjustments to make to this, so don't worry about that. We're going to use some set positions to control that curved circle so it's not running the edges of everything. Now we can come here to 0.1 since we're working with points. And I'm going to leave that at -1. Let's go to 0.2 and put this to 0.05. And we'll leave that. And everything else looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and bring this over a touch more. And I want to put in a join geometry right here. I want to go ahead and tag in the original geo, and it doesn't want to let me do it from there. And you can see how the little red selection box, if you kind of know what your nodes are, you can just sling it and it should attach. Now I'm going to shift, right click, and I want to bring that up. I can hit Y to bring it up on the Y, and then I'll do something similar over here. Just kind of keep that out of the way. You're at a point where it wouldn't be a bad idea to create a nice save point. That way you don't lose your data. Now let's type in mesh B again. And what we'll do with this one is we're going to tag this in with a couple of different things. I'm going to want the mesh data and the curve data here. So I'm going to pull the mesh data to control that. So don't tag that in from the original geo. It's not going to help. And I want to grab from the curve to mesh. So I'm putting mesh into the Boolean and tag that in here. Now Shift A S, let's drop in some proximity and we'll start building our little proximity network here. And Shift D that. You could very well, I don't know why that's not working, not able to select anything. Sometimes that happens and you just got to hit B for box select. I don't know why it does that. Control J, and now I'll be able to input and output some target data. I'm going to want to use the distance. I'm going to grab a greater than math node, and over here I want to get a compare equal. Okay, and so we'll change this data around momentarily, and we're going to want to cut this line here. Oh boy, I tell you what, this thing it's gone crazy. I'm going to see if I can fix this real quick. Every now and then you got to like resize the screen. Nope, still not trying to do it. All right, there we go. I think that works a little better. I think I had the wrong thing selected. So what I want to do is I want to cut this line and connect this to the join geo. And now you see we got our original mesh back, and we got a slight reaction here. And our curve circle is just doing the most right now. We don't really want that. So I'm going to bring the original object info, and I'm going to draw from that proximity. And we can move this mesh boolean over here, just keep some clarity. And might as well just throw that in. That way everything is connected. And I want to shift right click here and add a reroute. And I want to use the proximity of this geometry before it receives a boolean. And now a good thing, we can go ahead and throw in a merge by distance, and this will begin some of the cleanup process for us. And we can go ahead and make some more room. Make some more room. There we go. Maybe add another reroute, just kind of keep things clean. So from here, what I want to do is I want to Shift A S and go mesh to curve. I'm not going to add a profile, but I am going to add a delete geometry. And what do I want to delete is everything greater than 0.001. That should be good. I might change that later. We'll see how it reacts. And that will delete some of the other geometry that's going to be kind of excessive and in the way. Now I want to bring the intersecting edges of this boolean, and I want to use that as the selection for the merge by distance. And I want to also do that for the mesh to curve. And that's going to, every little bit we do is going to kind of clean this thing up. And so now I want to return this to a mesh object. And if I can type, I'm going to put in for a separate geometry node. I'm going to tag that in. Remember, we're still in points. And for the proximity based on the object, anything that's equal to 0.01, let's switch this to 0.01, and we'll put the epsilon to 0.01. And that'll kind of keep things tight for the actual bevel. All right, and so now what we'll do is we're going to drop the separate geometry. So the selection will continue, but the inverted of that is going to be based on proximity. So let's throw in a proximity node here. And so we're driving that target controlled with some fields data based on greater than and some proximity for our multiple mesh objects here. And we can go ahead and build out and duplicate this. We'll build out another, and I want to catch this curve from when it's a mesh. And I want to go ahead and tag that in as my next target. This is going to be our kind of our RGB grid, if you will. So Shift-A-S, let's get in a mix color, which we know we can use the vectors on this. And I'm going to have 4 of these. And now it's going to be based on position. So let's go ahead and grab a position node. And let's reference the position of the original mesh for this proximity. And we can go ahead and duplicate our position node. Tag that into the A channel of our mix color. I'm going to do the same thing here. I could just string it along, if you will, but I'm trying to keep things nice and neat and clean. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure to save that one more time. Now from here, what we can do, kind of move these over just a touch. And I want to plug the results in from the previous mix nodes to the B channel here. And I didn't mean to go to factor. I meant to go to A. So if you saw that, go ahead and fix it. And now we can derive our proximity from the previous geoset based on this proximity position here for A channel, and then from the previous curve to mesh right here. And this is going to plug in to a network of extrudes and set positions, which are going to basically tell this thing where it should go, which is what we need. So by now, just to kind of recap, we created a union. I can switch this back over to relative because it's going to be problems later. You can already see we've got something going on here. If we go into wireframe, it's not really totally visible yet, but it will be. We booleaned with a union, switch it to a curve to change that actual union, the base of the union, into a curved circle. And then we're controlling the proximity of that and keeping it real tight and creating a difference. So that way it's going to kind of cut itself off so it doesn't go through the mesh. Turn it to a curve. We control that curve, merge it by distance, clean it up. We delete anything in or outside of that range. Then we go ahead and invert, if you will, the proximity. It kind of flips this thing on its head and gives us that control. These are our controls, so we can output all these factors at the end. And these are all based on the proximity back and forth between the object and the target itself. All right, so what we can do is we can start building this out. We're going to need a good bit more space, so I'll just move this out of the way. G and Y to move that up a touch. Doesn't have to be anything perfect. What I want to do is this continuation. This is our main area. This is the main mesh, if you will. And so I want to Shift-A-S and want to put in an extrude and then a set position. If I can type that, not set POS, set position. Very good. Now we can duplicate the extrude. And now what we're doing is we're taking the top of this, setting the position based on these results. So I'll tag this into the position, and then the top value is what's going to control not only the set position, but the following node. And we can set these to edges, because that's what we want to control. So I'll set this one to edges as well. Go back over to solid mode. You can see we got some kind of thing starting. And so if you move this around, don't crash your PC, but you've already got the Boolean kind of started up. And I'm just go ahead and save that one more time. Now go ahead, so you don't maybe have lag. Let's set these to 0.01 on the offset scale. 0.01. I'm going to grab another set position and pop that in here. I'm going to use the top as the target. And we can drop in another extrude mesh here. And I'm going to control the top here with this selection as well. Now I can take the other result, the secondary results here from our proximity on the backside, which comes from the curve. Grab that control and we will throw that into the position of the second set position, and that's going to basically attach, which is what we want. Now let's see, do I have another one? I'm gonna need another set position node here. This will be my final set position before we start doing some cleanup. I think I can just like control X that thing out, don't really need it. Make sure to save again. Now I want to grab the position that's driving this from previous. This is almost like capturing an attribute, if you will. And I want to pull this out, and I'm going to use this for the final set position. And then the extrude top will go into the final set position to kind of like bring that back. If you don't chain the network together properly, it's not going to work. And let's merge by distance as a final cleanup. And we could like play around with this, but I want to get a math multiply. Ooh, get a math multiply here, and you can begin to get a level of control here. And let's see, you got 0.5. I'm going to leave that at 0.5 and 0.001 to the other side. Yeah, there we go. That cleans that up pretty nice. Now I'm going to come back over to our network here, and I want to switch this to points. It should be coming from the point side. I'm grabbing that position. Now coming back over here, the resolution for the curved circle, it's only important that it's at least 32. I haven't really noticed that if you go above that, it's going to be much better. So 32 is pretty solid. And it looks like I missed tying in the intersecting edges here to the mesh to curve. So go ahead and tie that in. And let's see if there's anything else that I did forget. And that looks pretty solid. So let's check this out. It's not necessarily touching yet. I mean, it's kind of above that plane. So let's just hit G and Z and bring that down just a little smidge. And now we've got a pretty cool looking bevel. Okay. Actually, I'm curious. I haven't tried this yet. I want to see if the auto smooth works. Maybe a shade smooth. Oh, you're going to shade that flat for now. You can do that in the beginning if you want, kind of play around with it, and you can set shade smooth. You can capture the attribute and throw it around if you want. This is just for the demo purposes of figuring out how to make your own bevel modifier inside. And so playing around with these different factors, and I really don't want to sit there and go back and forth with all that, so I'm just going to plug these in, or rather outsource each one of these. So that way I've got these factors to kind of mess around with. And you can rename them if you want. I don't think it's actually too necessary. The offset scale, let's see, which one? Is that the first one? I think you can mess around with this one without causing too many problems. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we can make some neat adjustments here as well. So we'll pull the offset scale out. Trying to see if there's anything else we might want. You could also pull this out as like a final controlling factor and hit the end panel. That's actually going to bother me. So let's just call that the bevel total. Okay, that's pretty cool. And now this, like, just for aesthetics, I got to bring this back over, and I don't mind a few little extra wires. I really don't. Scale all those together, bring them down, bring this over. You can make it neat, make another save point, and you can hit A for all. So you're not using anything, hit Control H. And what that just did is it closed up all of the unused wire connections, so you don't have to have anything else out there. And we can name some of these. I don't mind it. Factor 1, just like very basic here. Let's get 3. And this will be factor 4 for the bevel and an offset scale. So cool. So now that we've got all of that, we can pull that out and like start troubleshooting and see how we want our bevel to look. Kind of like play with the shading, if you will, because you will get shading errors if you wanted to. Let's see, I think if you just come in like maybe right here on this right after the merge by distance, and we'll do a subsurf and see if we don't crash. Actually, I'm going to create a save point and then drop it in. Subsurf that a couple times. It looks like garbage, so Alt left click, and I want to potentially drop that into the other side. All right, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. So anyways, let's try to set shade smooth on this one, not up here. It does a little bit. It's not much, but most of your controls are literally just going to be over here. And I've noticed that the lower the values on these, the better it looks overall, except for factor 4 maybe. And we'll change the offset scale just a touch, see what we can do. You can almost add segments to it. And my bevel total really isn't going to do that much. Anyways, you guys could play around with that. This is adaptive, so like I said, you just kind of move it anywhere you want. It's going to bevel, so it's procedural. Now here's the cool thing. If you come over and drop in L cubola G1Z enter, blah blah blah. Now what I can do is I can grab these two and hit M, just add them to a new collection. I'll come back over to my target data here, and I want to join this, and maybe I don't want that in there. I could take the collection to relative, separate children, and connect it. And I'm getting an error. Collection contains current objects. Let's see. Yeah, I didn't want the cylinder in there. I wanted the plane. If I can get it to go, I wanted the plane and the new cube in the collection. And for some reason, I've got a curved circle showing up there. That's awesome. Anyways, now if I take this and let's maybe shrink that bad boy down, go to top view. Let's bring it over here, G and Z, and bring it up. Voila, you've got your bevel over here as well, which is, that looks pretty good. And I have no idea how that got in there, but that's fun. Let's see, go back to original. Anyways, that's in there. Something's going wrong here. Okay, yeah, we got a warning here. GeoProx. It's probably a relative issue with instances. Stay S, and we can realize the instance right here just to clean that up. Yeah, okay, that got rid of it. That's super cool. So now, watch this. Let's hit 3, whatever it takes. Now I've got this sweet bevel that actually does go down the side as well. And then it, it bevels again. So let's try this. I actually haven't tried to go into another object yet. Okay, so that actually lagged me out a little bit. And I'm on a NVIDIA 3060. So like you can now adjust. I don't know if that's going to actually work too good. Let me see here. If I, after the realize, I'm just trying to crash right now. I can subdivide that. Kind of. Anyways, you guys have fun with this. Hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you used it for. Make sure to smash that subscribe, smash that like on the way out. I'm waiting for the actual bevel node to come out for realsies, and I think if we just take all of this and hit Control G, tab back out, we now end up with an actual bevel node, or rather a node group for that. And you can do that a little bit cleaner, however you want to do it. Thank you guys for watching. I will see y'all in the next one.